Kentucky Derby.
Move around the turns. The leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for free.
Next is in the center of the racetrack. Seattle Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem is pulling away. He's got another gear.
Down the stretch they come in the Derby. Wheel away takes command.
Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here's the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle Sloop of 1976.
As the final preparations continue for Kentucky Derby 148, a familiar face is back in the mix. Another is on the fence, and if you're on the outside looking in, fire up the elliptical, add some cinnamon to your oatmeal. It's time for day 2 of the Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twins Spires. Let's take a look at the headlines. Top Kentucky Oaks contender Secret Oath. She was third last out against the boys in the Arkansas Derby. She blitzed 6 furlongs early Monday morning and 113 flat. With 4 Oaks victories, Dwayne Lucas is in position to tie Woody Stevens for the stakes record. Pioneer Medina third in Louisiana Derby last out, breezed 5 furlongs in company and a tight 59-4 for Todd Pletcher on Monday. But he's back to 21st on the Kentucky Derby eligible list. And on the outside looking in, because according to representatives from the Churchill Downs Racing Office, Tampa Bay Derby winner Classic Causeway has re-entered the Kentucky Derby picture. He had previously been taken out of consideration following a tired 11th place performance in the Florida Derby for trainer Brian Lynch. Joe Krzyzewski and Scott Shapiro joining you from the chilly Gold Room balcony for day 2 of the morning work show, Scott. And yes, Classic Causeway back in. Early voting on the fence, and Pioneer of Medina after that work yesterday, now on the outside looking in. 'Tis the season.
Lots going on, of course, as we suspect will always happen right before we get close to the first Saturday of May. But the common feature of those horses that you just mentioned, kind of all horses that could or are likely to be involved in the front end and will have at least some presence in terms of pace. But really excited to be back for day 2, looking at some horses that we talked about yesterday and some fresh ones as well.
I've got my toe warmers. I've got my heated vest. But this weather is kind of sort of invigorating as we send it to the third member of our team, Brandon Staubel, up on the 4th floor. Brandon, lots of workouts this past weekend, hoping for quite a bit of activity from the Derby and Oaks horses here this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Scott. Yeah, you mentioned the weather. Much chillier this morning, but that's okay. The horses will love this kind of weather. Zandon yesterday actually ended up coming out later in the day towards the end of training, so looking forward to getting that first look today. Already this morning, Epicenter, possible Kentucky Derby favorite, was already out under the supervision of Steve Asmussen, went to the paddock and put in a light gallop. Also, we've already seen Barber Road. So looking forward to another day of Derby and Oaks training, and hopefully, as I said, we'll get to see Zandon maybe a little bit earlier this morning.
All right, thanks, Brandon. And speaking of Barber Road, we hope to talk to trainer John Ortiz in just a few moments as we take a look at the current Kentucky Derby leaderboard, Scott Shapiro. And, man, just looking at those names in the top 10 gets me more and more excited every time I see it.
Yeah, some serious top-heavy contenders there. Epicenter, Zandon, White Abario, Mo Donegal, the off-the-pace winner in the World Memorial down at Taba. Just 2 starts coming in here off the Santa Anita Derby win. And Smile Happy ends the first page, the Kentucky Jockey Club winner of 2021.
A new name at number 11, Classic Causeway. Not a new name, but a name that's back in the picture. The Sam F. Davis winner, the Tampa Bay Derby winner, was not good in the Florida Derby. He got tired pretty quick.
It was a much tougher task than he had faced in those Tampa Bay prep races, and was caught up early, tired badly late. He'll need to take a big step forward if he wants to be in the mix when they turn for home.
4 horses on the outside looking in, including Pioneer of Medina, who was number 20 yesterday. Classic Causeway back in. Back to 21, but early voting still on the fence for trainer Chad Brown. Speaking of Pioneer Medina, he was third last out in Louisiana Derby. He was 4th in the Risen Star prior to that, but some of the best 3-year-olds ran through New Orleans this year.
Well, if you're a numbers guy, you're going to give Pioneer Medina a shot at least to hit the board. He fits on Thoroughgraphs, on Brisnet speed rating. If you're a trip handicapper, though, he found good position with favorable race shapes in both the Risen Star and the Louisiana Derby and really couldn't go on with it as much as I would have liked to have seen, but it'll be a big price.
24 hours ago, Pioneer Medina was number 20 on the list. Todd Pletcher, though, needed to see a positive workout from him in order to move forward on the road to the first Saturday in May. Here he is on the inside in an in-company workout as we toss it back to Brandon.
Yeah, Todd will use these workouts particularly for horses maybe on the bottom part of the list or horses looking to get in. He'll use it as a gauge on whether or not to run. On the outside, his workmate McCallan, a Quality Road colt, last seen at Keeneland running fourth against Allowance Company. Pioneer Medina was much the best here on the inside. He was under pretty much a stout restraint the whole time. You can see his workmate on the outside, the rider's hands already shoving on this horse, really from the 2.5 pole all the way down to the wire. Thought Pioneer Medina was getting over the surface well. He's very efficient stride. Just a really nice moving horse over this surface. The tying came back well, 59-4 with a strong gallop out. I thought it was everything that Todd wanted to see, and I think off of this work that he definitely wanted to go ahead and enter if they can get in.
Trainer Todd Pletcher with two very live shots in Bodonigal and Charge It for the Kentucky Derby. He's also got Pioneer Medina on the outside looking in. We caught up with Todd following Monday's work.
I was very pleased. I thought he went super. It was a good, solid work, strong gallop out. It was what we were hoping to see. I thought everyone breezed nicely over the track. You know, we had a little bit of rain earlier in the week, so the first round of works were done on a little bit of a wet track. But I thought they all handled it fine. Today's track conditions were perfect, and Pioneer Medina looked to handle it real well.
Scott, there's definitely some pace in this year's Kentucky Derby. Summer of Tomorrow, I think. Messier, you get Classic Causeway now back in the mix. We'll see if Pioneer Medina gets in. Probably would replace another horse that's forward in early voting. But it should be interesting because we've got a good number of pace horses, stalkers, closers, pretty evenly matched at 1-20.
Yeah, and you didn't even mention Epicenter, who's been on the lead in most of his starts despite coming just a bit off the pace in the Louisiana Derby. Zozos, Cyberknife, horses that have stalked have been, Zozos was on the lead in the Louisiana Derby.
Right.
So lots to sort out, and we'll know more as we get closer, especially after the post position draw.
There's a few people that want a fast pace in this race, and one of them is joining us right now. First-time Kentucky Derby participant, John Ortiz. John, great to see you with the headset on as we talk about Kentucky Derby 148. Want to talk about Barber Road. This horse has hit the board in 5 consecutive stake races, many of those graded, including the Arkansas Derby. Not bad for a $15,000 weanling purchase.
No, not at all. I mean, obviously, this is a dream come true to just even be here and participating. It's a dream. It's a big effort just to even get to qualify to these races. So we're just feeling really blessed, and we're grateful for the opportunity to be here.
John, Scott Shapiro, Barber Road was a horse that showed some tactical speed early in his career, and I know that you've talked a little bit about getting him more into the races before the prep races in Arkansas, but he hasn't really shown that tactical foot. Are you hopeful or expecting him to maybe show more, and what kind of trip are you hoping for ultimately in the Derby?
You know, at the beginning of his career, I mean, we obviously gave it a very big confidence boost by being in the lower level, maiden claimant level, and the starter level. So yeah, I could expect that race to be a lot easier than his pace to come up a lot easier than it has been since we stretched him out. Now I'm not even thinking about changing anything now because it seems to be working. And he's not as far back as we really think. I think his last race he was only. I think the whole field spread about 7 lanes, so he was in contact with the field, and I like that. Before I think the Smarty Jones, he was way out of contact with the field, and I think finally we're going to be involved a little bit somewhere in the middle. I like to see him place somewhere around there. I'm not going to change his running style now that it's working to get him all the way here, so we'll stick to the plan.
John, Brendan Staubel here. Let's go back to the workout the other day. 6 furlongs, maybe a mile gallop out. I love what you did there. So your first Kentucky Derby, you're not afraid to kind of squeeze on the horse a little bit and just, you see a lot of trainers just from my experience where they come here first time, they might back off a little bit. You kind of seem like you kind of put your foot on the throttle a little bit, just kind of knowing this horse. Can you just kind of take us through the thought process of working 6 furlongs the other day?
Yeah, this horse, he runs his best race. I've tried, getting 3 works in between, I believe it was the Smarty Jones, 5 furlongs, put him behind traffic. He schools. 101s, 47s, you know, and I thought he ran a good race. But coming into the Arkansas Derby, I decided to back off. And, you know, the horse is as fit as I can get him. He's going to go the distance. We know he's going to go the distance. It's just a matter of getting a good lucky trip. So when we came over here, you know, I wanted to give him the endurance of, I wanted him to feel the long back stretch, and I wanted to see how he reacts down the long stretch down here at Churchill. So Raylu did a great job. We basically put together 2 3/8 workouts. The first part, 3/8 was 39, and then he came home in 37 and change. But what I liked even more was his gallop out. You know, he galloped out in 12, 13, 13. Yeah, I guess at the end of the mile, I think he went about 141 and 4. So to me, he's galloping out just as good as all the other contenders that are here. The Todd Pletcher horses, the Chad Brown horses. So I'm just as confident as they are. And like I said, I'm not trying to waste my horse in the morning. I'm trying to get him to teach him to just continue keeping his own pace.
Well, John, you mentioned jockey Raylu Gutierrez, along with yourself, first-time Kentucky Derby participant. You still got a week and a half until the race. I'm sure you wish the race was tomorrow, but just tell us how it feels to go through this with Raylu. You guys got a great relationship and your first Derby experience overall.
You know, I'm glad that we're here together. You know, what's that saying? They say you go to the dance or to the prom with who I don't even know. You know what I'm trying to say. But, look, Raylu's been a great friend of mine since we met in we got him to come out to Colonial. He rode first call for me there in Brad Calhoun. And, you know, he's been an incredible young man that's just time after time you can see that he learns from each ride. He learns we have very one-on-one conversations, not just about horse racing, just in general, just his career and personal life, just how to become a better person, better man. He'll make you a better athlete out here, and that's the way we have each other's back. So I wouldn't be, I'm as happy as I can be just being alongside with Raylu here.
Johnny, we wish you the best of luck. Myself, Scott Shapiro, Brandon Staubel, the entire team here at Churchill Downs. It's great to see you in Kentucky Derby 148, man. Enjoy the experience.
Thank you. No, we're definitely doing that right now.
All right, John Ortiz, Barber Road, the recent runner-up in the Arkansas Derby behind Cyberknife. We just saw it there, Scott. And one thing you know about this horse, he's going to try.
He does try hard. What a story. Claim I was in for $30,000 in a second start at Keeneland, won that race, and has taken John Ortiz, Raylu Gutierrez, and the ownership group on a nice journey here. He's going to have to step forward, though, if he wants to be a contender, but he certainly is going to pass a lot of horses in that lane.
A lot of familiar faces here, jockey and trainer-wise, at Churchill Downs as we approach every Kentucky Derby, but some new faces as far as this experience goes as we take a look at the debut trainers, including John Ortiz. You see Brian Lynch with Classic Causeway there, a couple of foreign trainers as well, Scott.
Yeah, Brian Lynch getting himself back into the mix yesterday with Classic Causeway, the Tampa Bay Derby winner. Tim Yakteen, of course, with the California imports that we'll see a little later on as we get closer. And John Ortiz, great story for a guy that was hot walking horses for Bill Nye when he was 16 years old.
And Ricky Corville with his son Clay here with Un Ojo as well, the Louisiana connection. A couple of foreign jockeys here, Christophe Lemaire and Mikel Barzalona. And there's Raylu Gutierrez, who also has a very live mount in the Kentucky Oaks.
We saw him come here last year in the fall for the Churchill Downs meet. We've seen him win a lot of races. You were with him down in New Orleans, and Raylu has really made the most of the situation, as well as his agent, Jose Santos Jr.
Hidden connection for Brett Calhoun and the Kentucky Oaks for Raylu Gutierrez, who has certainly burst onto the scene in a big way over the course of the last year or so. Take a look at Mo Donegal. Speaking of bursting onto the scene, he was good as a 2-year-old, but boy was he good last time out of the Wood Memorial, catching early voting right on the finish line for Todd Pletcher, who could start as many as 3 this year. And man, another horse that's just coming into this race in the right way.
Big step forward in that Wood Memorial. Career best 111 Brisnet speed rating, a 2-point top on the thoroughgraphs. People that had him in the future wager pool won at 37-1. Have to be excited.
Take a look at Mo Donegal on the racetrack and a gallop here, Brandon, from yesterday. And what are you looking for from a horse? He just had a light breeze this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking for good energy, just overall horse moving well. We talk about it all the time, coming out of workouts, looking to kind of build up to that final workout before the race. I thought yesterday he made a great appearance. He looked like he was carrying good weight. good coat, nice flesh. I mean, everything you wanted to see. And he's obviously a come from behind horse, so probably not one that's going to, work really fast in the mornings. His last breeze, as Todd mentioned, just something easy coming out of the race. But he made a nice appearance yesterday, and looking forward to seeing him again.
O'Donegall's got that 2-year-old foundation under him. Charge It is a horse who certainly doesn't have all that much experience coming in here for Todd Pletcher and Whispering Hill Farms of Mandy Pope, who gets another shot at the Derby after running 5th with My Loot back in 2013. Best is yet to come for this horse. Is it too much too soon for the Derby? We'll find out.
Yeah, lacking experience, still figuring things out mentally, but obvious talent. The dam is a half to Will Take Charge, who earned $3.9 million for the coach, won the Rebel, the Travers, and the Pennsylvania Derby in 2013. Also a half to Take Charge Indy, who won the 2012 Florida Derby. So bred to be a star. If he can somehow figure things out mentally in the toughest challenge of his career, he could be there in the end.
Tappan, his sire, 18-1, and the sire pool. Charge at 17-1 and 16-1 in pools 4 and 5, respectively. And Brandon, do you look for a little something different with a horse that's got less experience, more learning to do, that kind of thing, or do you just kind of look at all of them the same way?
Yeah, I think with the younger, less experienced horses, we definitely want to pay attention, maybe a little more to them on their mannerisms, how they're handling everything. I thought Charge It yesterday was one of the more impressive individuals just from a physical standpoint. I thought he made a great appearance. Now, the other day, he worked in company with Cezanne, who was second in the Oaklawn Park Mile to Folsom. So Todd training this one a little bit differently. Obviously, had that race before Mo Donegal had his Wood race. So going to tighten the screws a little bit. I thought Charge It was really good in his workout, and he made a nice appearance, as I mentioned yesterday. So, we're just looking for him to handle everything, and it looked like he did yesterday.
Here you see Charge It on the track, one of 3 potential starters for Todd Pletcher as we move on with day 2 of the Kentucky Derby morning work show, Scott. And we've got people watching us from all over the country, all over the world. I checked in on Facebook right before we came on. Lots of activity. New Orleans, Detroit, Boston, Princeton, New Jersey. From,
my roots.
Your neck of the woods. Yeah. Also Ontario, Canada. And if you've got some questions, you've got some opinions, we want you to participate. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Send us a question by using the hashtag Kentucky Derby. The man right here has all the answers, I promise you.
Got a couple, Brandon, certainly with the workout questions. And you know a few things yourself, Mr. Christopher.
Oh, yeah. We will do our absolute best. All right. Take a short break right now. The ears, the stride, the gallop out, practice. How important is practice for these thoroughbred athletes? Brandon Staubel is going to tell us all about it when we return.
Kentucky Derby, Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby morning work show presented by Twins Spires. Again, temperature in the mid-40s as you see the track maintenance currently occurring as we are in the midst of a break prior to the scheduled designated time for the Kentucky Derby in Oaks. Workers, gallopers, joggers, schoolers, whatever they decide to do on the racetrack. The track is their oyster during that 15-minute time for the Derby and Oaks participants. And Scott, looking very forward to that as always.
Yeah, one of the more special times as we get closer to the Kentucky Derby is seeing that 15-minute place for just those horses, kind of a reward. Great for the fans if you come out here and you're locally based. Obviously, if not, you can watch us here on all the social media channels.
We like to watch these horses in the morning. We look back at workouts. We look at workouts live. We look at the gallops, the jogs, the body language. Horses can't talk, but they can tell us a lot. What exactly does Brandon Staubel look for when he's looking down on these horses on the racetrack each and every morning he's here? Let's find out.
We're always watching the hands on the rider to see how much horse they have underneath of them, how much encouragement is needed for the horse to get to the wire as quickly as possible. Sometimes it's also an indication of what the trainers want to do. They might tell the rider to keep the hands low and don't move on the horse. We don't want to go too fast. Other times you might have a young 2-year-old, 3-year-old where you have to really encourage them to finish up around the turn. It's a really good indication if the rider doesn't move the hands very much at all and the horse still records a fast workout time. When the horse is coming down the lane and finishing the last part of the workout, we're looking at the way the horse is striding out or reaching out down the lane. So we're looking at stride length. The horse is using its body really well. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see short, choppy strides coming to the wire, especially on the gallop out. You want to see that the horse is extending the stride through the wire and then also finishing that around the turn. The ability to lengthen the stride in a short amount of time is really what separates the contenders from the pretenders. So when they come down the lane and they're able to lengthen that stride very quickly, and you see it when they're in company, they'll kind of draw away from their workmate. That's a really good indication that they're coming up to the race in the right way. Almost every rider that will be on a horse during a timed workout has a wristwatch, and they will be checking the watch on the trainer's instructions. Every 8th pole, so every furlong pole, you'll see the riders checking their watches, making sure that they're going in the right time. Sometimes what trainers want to do, they don't want the horses going too fast before big races, so one way to control that is for the riders to constantly check their watches during the workout and make sure that doesn't happen. The ears basically just tell us how the horse is feeling. Obviously, horses can't talk, so they can tell us a lot through their body language, and particularly the ears. The ears are kind of like antennas out there. They're taking everything in. When the ears are pricked, they're very alert and focused on what's going on. When they're flopping back and forth, very relaxed, and particularly on the gallop out, when you have one ear kind of flicking back and forth and the other one pricked, that's a really good sign, telling the rider that they've got a lot of horse, and the horse is basically telling the rider, if you need me to do some more, I can. The gallop out gives us a really good idea of fitness and how much the horse has in the tank after the wire. So an additional quarter mile is usually what we look for. And then onto the backside, how much is the horse still pulling the rider? Is he still going very easily, telling us that he can go around again? Those are kind of indications that we look at to see how the horse is coming up to the race, particularly for the Kentucky Derby, which is run at 1.25 miles. We want to make sure that fitness is not going to be a problem.
It's a great job by Brandon Staubel, Andrew Widener, our editor, everyone that was involved in that workouts piece. Gives you a really good idea as to what Brandon looks for, so you could look for it yourself, not only during Kentucky Derby and Oaks Works, but moving forward in this great sport of horse racing. And a horse that had a really good work this past weekend. He's not tough to spot on the racetrack. He's White Abarrio. By race day, Savvy Joseph Jr. has had one previous Kentucky Derby starter, and Tyler Gaffalione, Scott Shapiro, the rider of White Abarrio, has dominated the standings here at Churchill Downs. Only a matter of time, you would think, before he wins his first Derby.
I agree, and White Abarrio has an asset that a lot of recent Kentucky Derby winners have had, and as well as Epicenter, the likely favorite, and that's tactical speed to put himself into the race, get himself into that right position, and he's done very little wrong in this prep season.
saw a lot of what you want to see in that educational video, and you're going to see more of that right now with White Abarrio's recent work from this past weekend, Brandon. He's on the outside here, and man, I was very impressed by this. Does everything right.
Yeah, he's a colt that never seems to do anything wrong in the mornings. Talked about how good of a workhorse he is. Yesterday we saw the 3/8 move. This is the work 2-back, 5 furlongs. That stormy pattern on the inside. Most recently was 6th in a Florida bred stakes race. So obviously not the same kind of company as White Abarrio, but he does everything just so easily. Extremely talented race day colt as well. And you can see on the outside, just kind of ease past the mate a little bit. Rider will kind of let some rein out, maybe throw the hands up, a little bit of nudging here, kind of giving him his cue to go ahead and take off. And I thought he was very impressive. He always, like I mentioned, he always trains well. Good time here, 5 furlongs in a minute flat with a solid gallop out. Another one, I'm excited to see him get here. I want to see what he looks like out of this work. And it's one yesterday, a few days ago. But man, you can't really fault anything this guy does in his training. He is being asked a little bit on the gallop out, but just a few reminders. But the time was fast. He does everything right. It seems like he's got the mental side. And you mentioned his tactical speed. I mean, that's been a winning movement in the Derby.
I'll tell you what, I love when I see in a race or in a workout when you just get that little nudge and that horse accelerates. Certainly what we saw from White Abarrio right there. As we take a look at the Oaks points leaders and the top 3, you know, Kathleen O, Echo Zulu vying for favoritism. Ness likely the 4th choice. We'll take a look at Secret Oath on the 2nd page in a moment. Actually, number 8 here on the 1st page. But, you know, I would say the top 4 are really the ones that at least I'm gravitating toward.
Head and shoulders above the rest, at least on form. You never know what's going to happen, but they're the 4 that are likely to take the most money. It'll be interesting to see who the public lands on in the end. Echo Zulu with that perfect record as well as Kathleen O.
And there's the 2nd page. You see several on the outside looking in. Shahama, the foreign horse for Todd Pletcher, another one, along with Kathleen O, and also the undefeated champ from last year, Echo Zulu, who is undefeated coming into Kentucky Oaks. Take a look at Secret Oath with her gallop from a couple of days ago on the racetrack. She worked yesterday. More on that in just a moment. Brandon, what have you seen from her so far?
Yeah, her work 2-back was pretty big. She had a strong finish that day. Yesterday, she breezed early in the morning. Now, there was some expected rain yesterday. We did end up getting a few drizzles, so I think they didn't put as much water in the track yesterday morning. The track was maybe a little bit on the looser side, but I had her in a minute and 4 and out in 1:13, 1:26. So it was a pretty solid work. She was just kind of plugging along late there, maybe not doing as much as she did 2 works back. But she's one thing I like about her, she's a big, sturdy horse. She seems like she handles plenty of training, and she looks like she's doing about as well as she can be out of the Arkansas Derby try.
Trainer Dwayne Lucas, a 4-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer, 4-time Kentucky Oaks winning trainer, gave us some insight on Monday's work and his plan moving forward into this year's Run for the Lilies.
The one we had a week ago, or 8 or 9 days ago, was very sharp. And I wanted to be careful we didn't get another one like that. I think when they go that quick, a mile, in 1:12 and gallop out like they did, I think you got to get paid for it. So I told Louis Saez today to just try to make it even every 8th, 12, 12, 12, 12, and he was right on target. So I don't think I'll do it again. I think she's had a lot of activity. She's had some real strong races, including the last one in Arkansas. And I think it might benefit her more to just have some serious gallops, and that'll do it.
Twins Spires has a fantastic promotion Derby week and throughout the season. Starting opening night, if you're in the need for some last-minute betting advice at Churchill, entire season, Twin Spires Expert Picks previews are located on the betting page of both the app and the website, and you'll be able to hear this man. Don't you want to listen to that guy? Scott Shapiro, his thoughts and selections for every race. Kentucky Derby Week Expert Picks, only on Twin Spires. And how do you sign up for Twin Spires? Not a member yet, what are you waiting for? The official online betting partner of the Kentucky Derby offers you a risk-free bet up to $25 just for signing up. Use the offer code GET25 at sign up. on your computer or your mobile device. Wagering on Twin Spires is fun, safe, and easy to use. Join today. Start playing the races from home or on the go. Lots still to come here on the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show on this chilly Tuesday under the Twin Spires. Live training action for the Kentucky Derby and Oaks horses coming up next as you see the horses preparing to step their hooves onto the racetrack. They're going to do it in just a moment or two. We'll be right back.
Longines.
He won the Derby. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's authentic indeed.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show presented by Twin Spires. You see the Kentucky Derby horses with the yellow saddle towels. Tis the Bomb making an early appearance on the racetrack. The Oaks horses will be designated by the pink saddle towels. No workers, I don't think, expected here this morning, but we'll see plenty of activity, plenty of gallops and such. Tis the Bomb, trained by Ken McPeak, has a great resume, Scott Shapiro. He's won quite a few stakes races already. The question with him, obviously, the main track. So far, turf and synthetic has been his game.
5 wins and 8 starts with 1 second. But as you mentioned, all of those performances in the money, and the top 2 have been on the turf or on the all-weather track at Turfway Park. Does have the race, in the Ellis Park in a wash-off event, but his 2 races over a fast main track against Dirt Company have not been good. He's going to need to prove he can handle the kickback and handle the company.
Unoho, great story here at Churchill Downs. Gelding lost an eye in a paddock accident as a yearling, thus the name Unoho. Coming in from Louisiana for Ricky Corville and son. Clay's doing it all here. Clay's the exercise rider, the groom, the hot walker, the assistant trainer. I believe Ricky getting on the grounds here in the next day or two if he didn't arrive already this morning. As you see, Crown Pride, always want to keep an eye on what he's doing on the racetrack, and you'll see him with the Todd Pletcher saddle towel. That is Mo Donegal, one of 3 for trainer Todd Pletcher. And Brandon, I'm guessing up there on the 4th floor right now, seeing these horses come onto the racetrack, I'm guessing based on what we've seen in the first minutes, we're going to see quite a bit of activity.
Yeah, already I would say almost double the amount of horses already come on track, so that's great to see. You mentioned Crown Pride. Rich Strike also, I believe, on the AE list is out here. Yeah, just a lot more action today. It'll be interesting to see that Cyberknife on the screen right there, and Zozos, as we mentioned. And Joe, you talked about Crown Pride. I mean, he's just one, I've got to always keep an eye on him because you never know what they're going to do out here.
Exactly. Unconventional, at least from our perspective, training methods, but tough to argue with anything the Japanese are doing right now, Scott. I mean, they've been on absolute fire as of late, and makes me pay extra attention to Crown Pride going in.
He's been impressive in his races thus far. He ran a very competitive number last time out in the win in the UAE Derby, and a horse that I'm not willing to just outright toss at this point.
Smile Happy has been bet down in all the future wager pools. A lot of that has to do with his own, with the owner of Run Happy, his sire, Mattress Mac, Jim McInvale. As you see, Smile Happy out there looking pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, he was a little bit washy. Brandon talked about it yesterday, a horse that hasn't quite moved forward like I had hoped after the strong 2-year-old campaign, but has hit the board and run second in 2 very key races thus far, and 3rd start of the form cycle for Kenny McPeak.
And there's Crown Pride. And Brandon, you said, you're not quite sure at any moment what he might do, but this is an action that we've seen from him very regularly in the mornings. He's been here for a few weeks now.
Yeah, he's been here for a while. I mentioned the fact he's basically had 4 workouts in a week and a half, so to each his own. That's their program, and we did see him quickly go to the gate yesterday too. We saw a quick glimpse. We didn't really talk about it, but there is a gate back there in the chute, so got some gate schooling yesterday also.
Yeah, Brandon, there's Zandon on the racetrack. He came out late yesterday, first time we get to see him during the designated training hours, and certainly caught the eye with that workout this past weekend.
Yeah, he did. He was moving beautifully, obviously very talented, was able to, I remember reading that Chad was really surprised he broke his maiden first time out. He never expected him, and then he kind of knew at that point he might have something special. He makes a really nice appearance here on track with the pony. When they're doing this just jogging out to the track, you just like to see, like any athlete, that they're moving well, fluid, just a nice, easy little jog out to the track before he starts his gallop.
Play the future wagers. Pool 156 to 1, and every other pool at least 18 to 1. Scott, he's not going to be anywhere near that price on Derby Day.
I may or may not be involved in a couple of those wagers. I may end up picking this horse, I may not, but no doubt about it, if you got in any of the future pool wagers, he kind of was a little bit of a forgotten horse because he hadn't raced after the Remsen. Then in the Risen Star, he had the trouble and finished third. He really showed his true ability, though, in the Bluegrass. The key will be getting out of the gate and getting good position, but he's got one of the best in the game on him, Flavian Pratt.
Flavian Pratt with a victory, but via disqualification in the Kentucky Derby a couple of years ago aboard Country House. As we take a look at Kathleen O, and interestingly enough, Zandon, Kathleen O, both by the upstart sire, Upstart. Shug McGahee, the trainer of Kathleen O, she's never been beaten, Scott.
Yeah, a little bit more pricey than Zandon was, $275,000 at the OBS Spring 2021 sale. A horse that really lacks early speed, or at least thus far throughout her career, but has a ton of finish. Took a massive step forward in her first try at 2 turns. Remember those 1 mile races at Gulfstream are 1 turn like they are here at Churchill Downs.
Brandon, as far as the difference between the fillies and the colts go, is there anything different about the demeanors, how they act on the racetracks? Of the colts a little bit more difficult to handle for the most part?
It just really depends on the personality. Some are easygoing. I mean, fillies are kind of known to have a little bit maybe more of an aggressive attitude. It really just depends. I mean, we've seen all kinds of personalities out here, but yeah, Joe, I would just say it really just depends on the horse.
There's Rich Strike on the outside looking in. I believe this one needs 4 defections, right? Is he number 24?
He's number 24. It would be Eric Reed, the trainer's first starter in the Kentucky Derby. He's run his 3 most recent races up at in northern Kentucky, Turfway Park, our sister track there. Finished third in the Jeff Ruby. A horse that'll be coming from way out of it if he gets in. But does have a win in his only start over this track, Joe.
There's Charge It. What are you seeing from him in this gallop, Brandon?
He continues to look good. Just passed by me down here, carrying really good flesh. I just like the way he moves over this track. He's a bigger colt, but he just very athletic. He seems to get over the surface really well.
Is that Malibu Moon colt? I mentioned this the other day, Scott. It kind of reminds
Magnum
me.
Moon.
Magnum Moon. He kind of reminds me of him. Just a big horse, Brandon, who's still trying to figure out exactly what he's doing out there. I mean, you saw that he was a little bit green in the Florida Derby. Ran second, but when you see that, you tend to think to yourself, man, this horse has some upside, has some roof for improvement, hasn't reached the ceiling yet. The question is, can he reach that ceiling on Kentucky Derby Day, or are we going to see this horse more like, a Travers horse down the road in the summer?
Yeah, and I mean, what about the intent also in that workout? He had 5 furlongs in company with an older stakes horse. I mean, the fact that Todd was able to do that and had confidence in it, and I thought actually Charge It was maybe going a touch better to the wire. They both galloped out strong, but obviously they have high hopes for this colt.
Yeah, extremely talented horse that's just trying to put it all together. Debuted twice at the 1 turn mile distance, was an extremely tough distance to win at, and ran well in the Florida Derby. If he figures out how to run straight at the right time, meaning in the first Saturday in May, he could be a factor. But like you mentioned, Joe, definitely going to be a factor moving forward this year.
Brandon, Tiz the Bomb appears to like the cooler weather this morning.
Yeah, he's doing okay out here. He's one that we mentioned has kind of that higher knee action, and he's one that has trained here before. He gets over the surface just fine, but, it's the kickback. I mean, the training, we can talk about it all we want, but it's the kickback. Will he handle that, and is his stride the most efficient stride for this type of race?
And as far as a horse like Zandon right now, again, he's feeling really good this morning too, Brandon. These riders, these are gallops. They don't want the horses to do too much out there, but they also want them to be able to expend some of that energy that they have.
Yeah, first look, I don't want to get too excited, but he looks gorgeous out here. I love the way he's just controlled. I like to see those horses that they're kind of on the muscle, but you can tell they're definitely relaxed. You can see the ears are pricked there. He's just doing this so effortlessly. Like he's telling you he wants to do more. I love the way, particularly when I got the head-on view right near the finish when he came around the first time. I love the way he reaches out up front, and he's just, man, he's gorgeous and really impressed first time seeing him over the track.
Scott, the post position draw for both the Oaks and the Derby are going to be Monday afternoon this week. Normally the Derby has been on Tuesday. Get an extra day to handicap. Not like we haven't been handicapping this race for the last 7 months, but post position for a lot of these horses it's going to be a big deal for everyone in the field. For some more than others, it's going to be even that much more critical. But this is a horse that likes to come from off the pace in a 20-horse field. When you're looking at whether or not you think the horse can win, of course he can win, but he's going to need a little bit of racing luck along the way, no question.
He will. He's struggled a bit out of the gate, as we've talked about, in 3 of his 4 starts and the 2 3-year-old starts. I don't think post position will be that key. Drawing way to the outside, you don't really want that. Drawing the rail, for him, wouldn't be a death wish, but would not be ideal at all. But I think if he gets out of the gate well, he may be a little bit closer to the pace than some may think.
With a new 20-horse starting gate, and we'll talk about this as we get closer to the draw and on draw day, the rail post position isn't as bad as it used to be. I mean, it used to be absolutely the place you didn't want to be. The inside post position is not as bad. Nobody wants to draw down there, but it's not as bad as it used to be with the new 20-horse gate we have.
Right. I almost would think that, the 2-hole and the 3-hole are pretty similar to the rail at this point. You either don't want to be on the inside or you do. If I'm a speed horse, drawing towards the inside is not a death wish. Obviously it makes the break that much more important, takes away some of your options, but it's the inexperienced horses and it's the horses with that tactical speed that want to stalk that I don't want to see drawn towards the inside.
Get jammed up in that first turn.
Right.
If you were to rank the most impressive preps that we saw so far this season, just visually, I would have to say the Bluegrass and Zandon might rank number 1.
Yeah, Taba was very impressive. The lack of experience, but was very impressive in the Santa Anita Derby. Won't see him arrive, but Zandon very high up there. Epicenter in both of his races in the Louisiana Derby, tough to knock as well.
Brandon, we saw Tawnyport run kind of an even race a little bit earlier in the 3-year-old season at Fairgrounds behind Epicenter, but he's taken some steps forward. He's run some really good races on synthetic, but he did win the Lexington on dirt last out, albeit against a softer field than many of these other horses have faced in their preps. But Brad Cox with 3 horses in the Kentucky Derby. You talked about the high knee action from Tiz the Bomb. Are you seeing anything similar from Tawnyport?
Maybe just a little bit. The one thing about Tawnyport that I would mention, he carries a lot of weight. I mean, he just carries his condition really well. He's probably, as far as if you just talked about the hind end where the power comes from, I mean, he's got one of the largest hind ends that I've seen out here with the horses training. I've been very impressed with him. He was a $430,000 yearling, so obviously he had the looks when he was younger. But he seems to have bounced out of the race. I mean, we talk about what to look for. One thing with him would be his energy level, particularly back on short rest. Really, this will be twice now back on short rest, but he's carried his energy level great. His coat looks good, and like what I see out here.
We got some questions coming in from social media. We'll get to as many of those as possible later in the show, we promise you. And right now, this is the horse that I'm leaning on for the Kentucky Oaks. I thought her Ashland was scintillating. She's only lost once for Todd Pletcher. Talking about Nest, and Scott, I just think she's going to get the right trip. She's got a good stalking style. Echo Zulu's obviously going to show speed. Not a ton of speed in the Kentucky Oaks this year, but tactically she should be in the right position, and I think she's coming into this race is about as well as she can be, at least on paper form.
Just the one loss back in November of her 2-year-old campaign and attempted at Belmont. 4 wins other than that. The speed figures were light until the Ashland when she rattled off a 98 Brisnet speed rating and a much the career best effort on thoroughgraphs. Like you said, Joe, a lot to like about this daughter of Curlin, but one of the top things is her tactical foot. She could sit mid-pack. She could be a little bit closer closer if they're not going fast early on.
And Brandon, at least to me, watching her race in the Ashland and seeing her on the racetrack, and Nest is a physical specimen herself.
Yeah, she has looked well out here. You talk about what to look for. We talk about the demeanor and the just way they handle themselves out here, and she's done everything right so far.
Unoho, a 75-1 upset in the Rebel. Safe to say the biggest upset we saw on the Kentucky Derby road this season. Ricky Corville, the trainer based in Louisiana, son Clay, doing it all here at Churchill Downs with Unoho, meaning one eye, lost it as a yearling in a paddock accident. And Scott, this horse is a lot like Barber Road in that he's come through the Oak Lawn Road to the Kentucky Derby, and he's an off-the-pace threat.
Yeah, he got a perfect trip in the Rebel 2-back to earn his spot in the starting gate here, winning at 75-1, getting the best of Ethereal Road, who's on the outside looking in, and the aforementioned Barber Road. If I'm comparing the two, Barber Road more consistent, a little bit faster, but the one positive with Unoho in comparison to Barber Road is Unoho has had a break. This is just his fourth start of the form cycle. Barber Road has not. He's danced a lot of dances recently.
Get another look at Crown Pride on the track. And, Brandon, he just doesn't come out during the designated training period. He tends to spend more time on the racetrack than anybody by far.
Oh, definitely. I mentioned yesterday Lonnie. He probably doesn't spend as much time as Lonnie did out here, but it's close. Usually what they'll do, go back and do a few of those circles to warm up a little bit. This is where he usually stops right at the, it's like the 16th pole, and it'll begin the gallop. And what they'll usually do, from what I've seen the last week or so, is they'll gallop all the way around to where Dale Romans is stabled back there by the track kitchen. They'll stop there, and they'll actually walk back around and basically take another walk all the way back around the opposite way. So guys, I mean, I'm not going to pick this horse on top right now. I'm not saying anything like that. I just like the way the horse is. Seems like he's slowly, every time he comes out, he's just getting a little better. I just think he's a kind of an impressive individual. I like the way they're handling him. He seems to be taking his training pretty well, and I'm excited to see what they do next with him.
Trainer Kochi Shintani was an assistant trainer up until recently, only went on his own in the last few months. Currently trains about 40 horses. The UAE Derby was his first ever stakes win, and now he's on the biggest stage in the world with a horse that was an impressive winner of the UAE Derby. Good stalking style. Seems to have some class, certainly has a pedigree. And Scott, Japanese horses won 5 of the 8 races on the Dubai World Cup card. March Lorraine, Loves Only You, in the Breeders' Cup. It's tough to ignore these Japanese horses.
Yeah, they've definitely taken several steps forward, not just a step forward in the international scene. And what was most impressive about Crown Pride's win in the UA Derby was he ran down a lone speed horse in Summer Is Tomorrow. Now, Summer Is Tomorrow, first time going long, so maybe a little bit understandable. But he looked gone, and Crown Pride kept coming at him and got the job done going away in the end.
There you see Venti Valentine coming in from New York for Jorge Abreu for this year's edition of the Kentucky Oaks. And this horse has finished no worse than second in 5 career starts, has a good stalking style. Couldn't keep up with Nostalgic last out on the Gazelle, but that rival had a perfect pocket trip.
Difficult, though, to make an excuse for Venti Valentine that day as the even money favorite. And you look at her past performances and her pedigree a little bit. The 2 losses have come in the 2 starts at a mile and an eighth, both at Aqueduct. The 3 wins have come at 1 turn.
Kathleen knows she's got a scintillating late run. And Brandon, again, when you're looking at horses that have different kinds of running styles, horses that are more off the pace types, don't have a lot of natural early speed, do you kind of evaluate them differently in the way they train?
A little bit. We watched her work yesterday. I wasn't really too worried about the time. It was just kind of like some horses just aren't very good. They're not the best workhorses, and she might just need a little extra encouragement. Not to switch gears, guys, but they're letting Crown Pride open up a little bit down the lane. You just never know what they're going to do. Little quarter pop in 26, and they're letting him run out around the turn. Not to switch topics, but I thought that was pretty noteworthy. You just never know what they're going to do. This horse is this is one we need to keep an eye on for sure.
Absolute wild card going into
53-3. So I mean, basically a pretty, 4 furlong move. I mean, 53 is not the fastest time in the world, but he was doing it under a hold, and they let this horse, he just worked a couple days ago, and they let him do a little something today.
Yeah, we've got the visual right now on the screen, Brandon, of Crown Pride.
This is right before the what he just did. So this was kind of going into the turn, just a little bit of a warm-up, and then he looks good out there. And then he pulled up on the backside. Like I said, his training, usually they'll go to the backside just with a little gallop and stop. So they're changing up the training again. Now today they let him gallop all the way around, and then, like I said, they kind of blew him out a little bit down the lane.
I mean, you think about it, and you think about the recent success the Japanese have had, and their, breeding program continues to get stronger. They continue to compete on the biggest stages in the world, the Breeders' Cup, Dubai World Cup. Brandon, this horse has been here for several weeks now. You like what you see. He's got the right running style. Again, the horse is going to be double-digit odds. Is this the kind of horse that you're really interested in using when you're betting, the Kentucky Derby, exactas, trifectas, superfectas? Because this is a horse that really nobody's talking about.
Absolutely, and here's the video here. So this is him. You can see the rider. He's not letting him do anything, but the horse wants to go. He's controlled, but yeah, definitely a horse that it really, just from a physicality standpoint, has kind of caught my eye since I've been watching him train. I mean, he's just a gorgeous-looking individual. He's got that longer kind of almost like what you would think like a European look, but he's just a gorgeous animal. But I'm just so fascinated by the way that they're changing up the training now. There he is around the turn, still under a hold. Look at the ears. I mean, this horse is just willing. He's wanting to do more, carrying good flesh. He's striding out well. Look, the rider has to grab him right there. The ears are flicking back and forth. I mean, this guy wants to do something, and it's just so different from what we see in America, where we work and then we walk and then we kind of slowly lead up to the next works. I mean, this guy, I'm not calling it a workout, but he basically had a little blowout down the lane, and I mean, they're just really putting the foot to the pedal, and it's just kind of just fascinating to watch this style of training.
Absolutely agree. Very fascinating to see the different approach. We'll call it different, not unorthodox in my opinion, because we just don't know. But it's just great in general, Joe, to have the Japanese involved. They're so passionate about sports and racing, having them. It's a much different time over there, but hopefully they're checking in and enjoying the program.
And not to interrupt again, but just kind of look at his swagger walking off the track. I mean, that's what you want to see. I mean, a horse kind of just bobbing that head. I mean, it looks like he didn't do anything out there. If you didn't know any better, you'd think he was just now walking on track, but to me, he just looks like a very classy individual.
And you look at the pedigree by Reach Crown, first full of the race out of the King Kamehameha mare. Emily's Pride, the Colt Second Dam, Emmy Smile, was a stakes winner in Japan, and lots of stamina on that dam side of the family. So stamina certainly shouldn't be an issue based on the pedigree, based on this horse's training regimen here in the mornings. We've got some questions coming in from social media. Let's see what we got here. We've got one from Brad on Facebook asking about the post position draw. How much do you factor horses that have trouble out of the practice gate, like Crown Pride, or horses that have broken slowly in the races? How much of that do you factor into your handicapping, Scott?
Definitely is a factor, and the horses that have trouble getting out of the gate, talked about a few minutes ago, the kinds of horses that I'm most concerned about where they draw, and horses that have not gotten out of the gate well, it's a little more important. Talked about Zandon overall, not overly concerned with where he draws, but if he does get out of the gate poorly, being drawn to the inside and taking all that kickback, certainly an issue. So, yeah, keeping an eye out on where those horses draw as opposed to horses that consistently get out of the gate and find their own position, certainly a factor.
Tyler on Facebook wants to know if Mike Smith has him out in the Kentucky Oaks. He does not, but he does have one in the Derby.
He's got Taba in the Derby, which I know you pointed out to me in interesting fashion, or I believe actually was track announcer Travis Stone, that Mike Smith, the oldest jock in the race and the lightest raced horse in Taba.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, very cool. But, Mike will almost certainly be aggressive with a horse like Taba, and he's one of the horses, Joe, speaking back to the post position draw, that I'll have my eye on, because if he draws down to the inside, it's going to be like a much different experience than when he was so impressive in his first two starts.
Brandon, we got a question for you from Stan on YouTube. Wants you to explain what a lead change is and why it's so important.
Sure. The best example you can kind of start out with is let's just imagine you're walking through the airport and you've got your suitcase or your bag in one hand and you've walked quite a while, and then all of a sudden you just get tired on that side. You switch sides, and then all of a sudden you've got seem like a little more pep in your step, a little more energy. It's very similar to with the horse and their lead change. So we say when they're on the right lead, when they come around the turn and head for home, and then on the backside, when the right front is leading the way, typically that's where they're going to get their power. They usually gallop around the turns on their left lead, so they're kind of using that left front out in front, and then when they switch over, that's kind of like an energy burst that they get down the lane. So typically if we see horses on wrong leads during races, that's usually an indication that they're tired or something might be bugging them. But we always talk about switching leads on cue, and that's what you really look for. The really smart horses, they can switch leads on a dime and really turn on that power and explode down the lane.
Stan apparently wanted me to demonstrate a lead switch on the air. Stan, if you want to wait about 5 minutes and meet me in the gold room, feet are a little bit cold, I'll demonstrate what a lead switch looks like for you.
Hopefully we can get that on video.
We got Epicenter from earlier this morning. We want to show you some video of him. Got a couple more social media questions. Please fire them our way. But in the meantime, Brandon, we're going to take a look at the, I would say, likely Kentucky Derby favorite, although a lot of buzz about Zandon. It's going to be one of those two. Again, had a recent work here at Epicenter. Came out early for trainer Steve Asmussen and, looking well.
Yeah, he came out, first time back after the work. So typically, we just talked about Crown Pride and that type of training. This is usually the American style is just to kind of ease into things after your work. So typically with this barn, they will be accompanied, especially the top caliber horses, by the pony. And the job is just to keep them relaxed, keep them nice and happy and calm as they walk out. They will end up coming around and then going into the paddock for some schooling. Steve was behind them on the pony and then came out just for a light gallop, just kind of easing things back in, getting ready for that work, as he alluded to, probably Monday.
Trainer Steve Asmussen's gotten close in the Kentucky Derby a few times, Scott. Nero was right there looking at Lee, finished second. Curlin, who, talking to Steve over the course of the last several years, he thought for sure that horse was going to win the Derby. Didn't happen, but obviously went on to have a tremendous career. Gun Runner, another one.
Yeah, people kind of talk about Steve being unable to win the Kentucky Derby because they think of Gun Runner and Curlin being such successful horses. But when Gun Runner came in the Kentucky Derby, he was not the favorite. He was still growing into himself. He had a very solid prep season, but wasn't the horse that he became. And Curlin just had a couple of starts, 3 starts, in fact. So he was one of lightly raced horses when that was a little more uncustomary than it even is now.
Lots of great promotions at Twins Spires each and every day, including this one. It's the money back offer. You definitely want to take advantage of this Kentucky Derby week. Runs all week long. It's on every race at Churchill Downs. If you make a win bet on any race and the horse you bet on doesn't win but runs second or third, Twin Spires are going to give you your money back up to $10. Now, this offer is only open to Twin Spires players. Doesn't matter if you're new or existing. All you got to do is opt in. It's got this money back offer. I mean, a lot of times you see it run one particular day or a few races. This is the entire Kentucky Derby week, Tuesday through Saturday.
Yeah, plenty of opportunities to get ahead of the ball, figure out your plays, and take advantage of this effort. Not only do you get your money back, but you get it back very quickly so you can churn it back in and put it on bets in the next race.
All right, saw some great activity out there in the morning for both the Oaks and Kentucky Derby contenders, and Scott's still a long way to go. Today's Tuesday, and the draw now 6 days away. You saw Johnny Ortiz earlier. Doesn't matter if you've done this once or if you've done this a dozen times. Crossing days off the calendar, just hoping that you get your horses there and ready to run the best race of their lives.
Yeah, I know how excited we get each and every day and each and every year. Can only imagine the excitement of having a horse in the Derby like John Ortiz, of course, for the first time and crossing those days off. But really great to see Zandon out there amongst many other horses and just continuing to be excited each and every morning to wake up.
Anything else? Any final thought for the day?
Yeah, just good to see Zandon. I'm a little bit vested already. I plan to likely be as more vested as we get closer to the first Saturday in May. But lots of good-looking animals out there. Continuing to enjoy seeing Crown Pride train as well.
Brandon's got the best view of all of us. A little bit jealous, Brandon. We're here on the set. You're up there taking a look at the horses here in the morning. Anything in particular that caught your eye today?
Yeah, I think 3 horses caught the eye today. Charge It, I thought, had another great gallop. He just looks like he's doing really well, getting over the surface well. For a bigger horse, just super athletic. Zandon made a great appearance. I love the way he was hitting the ground. I love that controlled energy. You know, he had that tight, the rider had a tight hold on that horse, but he was willing but not running off, just like what I saw from him. And then Crown Pride, I mean, just really fascinating to watch him train. I talked about how, as an individual, I really like the way he looks, and he's starting to pick up his training a little bit, and gets me a little bit excited. I mean, like you mentioned, he's going to be a double-digit price, so definitely one we want to continue to follow because you truly don't know what he's going to do next.
Oh, that's what caught your eye, Brandon. What caught my ear is you talking about Crown Pride because he really seems to like the way the horse is doing. The horse is an absolute wild card, but again, the Japanese have been doing so well that I'm going to be paying a little bit of extra attention to Crown Pride here in the next week and a half or so. Mike Lennings tonight, Scott Shapiro and I will be there for a live seminar, 7 o'clock. Great fried fish and great opportunity to learn a little bit more about the contenders for this year's Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. Hope you can join us, and hope you can join us on the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show presented by Twins Spires. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday. 7 a.m. is the time Eastern. Join us on all these social media outlets. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody.